Welcome everybody back to another very exciting episode of the Cyber Queens. Personally, really excited for today. We are, of course, two of your hosts, Meryl and Erica. Amber is not with us today. She went and injured herself in a tragic volleyball accident, so we will see her back very, very soon. But you still have me, Meryl, your resident offensive and ethical hacking expert, and I'm joined by Erica.
I'm Erica Eakins, CEO of a company that will be announced soon, but previous recovering sales rep.
We'll call it confidential for now. Erica's CEO at Confidential. And we are joined today. We, the Cyber Queens, are so excited because we are joined by the Cyber Queen maker herself, Miss Stacey Champagne. Very excited. Hello, Stacey. So excited to finally have you. I asked Stacey to come on a while back and I squirreled a bit and forgot to follow up with her and stuff, but we finally have her here. Wanted to say also she is my fellow nominee for the Women's Cyber Jutsu Awards coming up here at the end of the month. So congratulations, Stacey, on making finalists for that. Well done. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. And congratulations to you as well. Well earned, well deserved. So Stacey Champagne, I am as mentioned, cybersecurity queen maker. I am an insider risk expert, and I am the founder and CEO of Hacker in Heels, an organization that helps women launch and grow their cybersecurity careers. We really focus on giving women tools and strategies to be able to rise up in the ranks and claim those top positions in cybersecurity, because we recognize that, this is a field that is just in its infancy, that has a lot of opportunity and potential to influence our security and our society, really, in regards to, the importance of it. And especially because of, let's be honest, how much money there is and to be made in cybersecurity careers, right? And so when women have more money, when they're able to earn more, bring more to their families, they tend to, and the studies show that we bring it back into our communities, right? So we need to get women into positions of power where they can bring in that money and then use that money and power and influence to collectively start to change not just our cybersecurity workplaces, which are definitely in need of an overhaul, but our overall society dynamics as well. So, we have programs and everything there. And then I personally am still a cybersecurity practitioner myself. Just recently left an organization. I am on the market now looking for my next opportunity, really focused on, anything that's kind of new and exciting in regards to, what could branch out from my traditional skill set that I have. So a lot of focus again on insider risk management, which can lend well to incident response, incident management, and even that cybersecurity leadership and strategy type roles, where previously I've been, an information security program manager at a medium-sized company. Helping a lot across all the different domains of cybersecurity and all our different leaders there to be able to run and grow the program. So if you have an opportunity out there that looks seems like it could fit my skill sets, let's get in touch.
Yeah, I just shared the other.
I think I just found my chief strategy officer. I need to see.
Yeah, she would be fantastic at it. Erica, if you don't know Stacey, Erica with her company that she's starting is hoping to build an all-female leadership team, which would be phenomenal to see, especially in the cyberspace. And for those of you who don't know, I just shared this the other day. Stacey is just this go-to authority in the realm of insider risk and an insider threat. And like she said, that influences so many areas. It can influence CTI programs. It can influence DFIR policies and procedures and things like that. And she's honestly one of the people I consume most of my insider threat content from. So if you're not following her already, highly recommend that you go do that. And like she said, if you have any positions that might align with her expertise, you would be lucky to snag her. If I had a need, I would snag her, but unfortunately I don't. So maybe one day I'll have a company, but probably not. So Stacey, please do tell us, for those of us out there in the audience who are either new to cyber, not yet working in cyber, or work in cyber and have not heard of them, please tell us about your programs. She's got two of them, Hackers in Heels, and then that's actually her business. And then I believe you have Hackers in Heels sponsors the program Changemakers. Am I correct?
Yeah, so Changemakers is one of a couple of our offerings that we have with Hacker in Heels. It's really the first one. It's the flagship of what I started Hacker in Heels with. I, for those that don't know, I didn't start in cybersecurity like a lot of us, right? I started as a visual information specialist in the intelligence community. It was one of those dream jobs where I set out to gain that position from like still within, my time in high school, focused on that goal for years, achieved it, got there and was like, this is not what I expected. This doesn't align with, who I am and how I show up in the workplace in regards to my drive, my ambition, my motivation. I was stuck to the GS scale of time and grade and promotion, and then all these other bureaucratic rules around like what I can and can't do and what, other areas I could go explore or not explore and all that kind of stuff. And so I had an opportunity to go back to school and have it funded to go study basically whatever I wanted. And I decided to pursue cybersecurity. And that enabled me to make a break. Actually, I ended up, leaving the government, went into the private sector, and I've been working in the private sector my entire cybersecurity career so far. And through that experience, I recognized that like, hey, my skills that I started with as a visual information specialist have been immensely helpful in my success in cybersecurity. So like, what would it look like if we found more women with transferable skills, couple years of experience in the workplace, finding themselves in a similar spot where they realize that they're not on the path that they thought they were on. They're not, working towards the place that they thought that they wanted to end up at. Yeah. And like, let's explore doing something different. So Changemakers is essentially, half of a kind of just general career counseling, right? Because I don't want to just like tell people the answer to all your problems is just getting a cybersecurity career, right? I think other people will try to convince you that, but that's not where we start. We start with figuring out first, like, what's not in alignment with your current role? What do you need out of your workplace in general? And then from there, once we figure that out, okay, now let's start to match up with the opportunities in cybersecurity and see if there's something here that makes sense and that would be a fit for you. So I always say that like if you go through Changemakers and you decide at the end of it that you actually don't want to pursue cybersecurity, like that is just as okay and a fulfilling outcome of having done the program than if you, if you do decide to security, right? Because at the very least, we're helping you figure out like what is next for you either way. Yeah. And also potentially saving you a lot of time, money, frustration, and being upset if you just, take cybersecurity, go into it, but you haven't, recognized or troubleshooted any of the other issues that were kind of underlying the situation in the first place.
Right. There are certain people like me. So when I transitioned to cyber, it was like an all-in thing. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be good at this. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't know if the business is run better, if I'll like the leaders, if I'll like the people, but I have to try. And, luckily all those things aligned for me. And I tell people all the time about the possibility of cyber careers. And I'm like, anybody can do it, but it's not for everyone. There is a lot of income earning potential. There is a lot of upward mobility. There are jazzy projects, but that won't align with everybody's needs. That's one of the things I go over with my mentees first as well is, if you think you want to change or if you think you want to pivot, where and why? What are the reasons we're seeking these new skills or this bump up or this change in industry before you abandon everything that you've built and that to start something completely new? Totally valid.
You go all in on stuff? No way. You don't just jump in and do anything. You don't ever do that.
I never do that.
There is no in between.
There is not.
I'm over here laughing when you're talking. She's like, I went all in. I'm like, when do you never go all in?
There are times I cautiously evaluate and I'm like, especially when it comes nowadays, because I do have so many needy project children, with Cyber Queens and Teach Kids Tech and then my full-time job and stuff. And I'm like, I have to be very selective now. I'm like, I would love to mentor you. I would love to take on that project. I would love to author that thing, but I have to very intelligently evaluate what's going to give me the most like visibility ROI and actually like result in things I can leverage and not just say yes to everything, which is something Meryl's working on. Meryl's a yes person in recovery right now. So
thank you for that.
You're welcome. Love everything Changemakers does. I think that's such a crucial place to start because I think so many programs are like, sure, we'll just take your money. We'll take your money. We'll put you in a boot camp. We'll teach you to code. We'll put you into whatever. And it's like, they don't even know if that cyber vertical is the thing that they want to do. Like when I came in, I thought I wanted to be an audit and then I found hacking and I was like, that's a completely different skill set. I could have gone into the wrong thing either way and not known it until years into the industry. And then you have to start over and pivot again in a new function, which is very, very difficult. especially once you're here. Would you agree?
Yes and no, right? Like the honesty is that, you know, especially given the competition right now for entry-level cybersecurity roles, you're probably going to have to take whatever you can land, right? And so, you know, recognizing this, I actually came up with a new quiz that's available on the website, hackerandheels.com/quiz. And it focuses instead on career archetypes. So there's a lot of confusion out there as to what roles mean what. You know, there's a lot of people, as you had mentioned, like pushing, especially the boot camps push you into particular roles, like a SOC analyst or whatnot. And then, especially when you go and you're like trying to have networking conversations, you end up, you know, your mentor or whoever you're working with is going to ask you questions like, what do you want to do, right? And so your job as the person asking the question, you need to be able to help provide some like wayfinding markers for us to be able to put you on the map, right? Because we recognize the field is super confusing. Like all these titles seem like they're made up and like mean different things and whatever. But if you can at least tell me like more so the acts of what you're looking to do, then I can kind of help start to place you, right? So archetypes, we break them up into your advisor, your builder, conductor, and detective. And so by having a good idea of like which one of those you would like to fall within and how you would like to like shape your overall career to that particular archetype, then I can say, okay, well, if you want to be a builder, I have builder opportunities in GRC. I have builder opportunities over in detection and response, you know? And so then you're not pigeoned into a particular, you know, previously we kind of looked at it as focus areas, but again, given the field and also just the reality that you will actually benefit from being more open to working across different cybersecurity domains, it just helps everybody have more productive conversations about what you want to do, where you're trying to go, and so on.
That's so smart, actually. That's actually a brilliant way to break it down, because I feel like so many people like have something that they're good at, but then something that they want to do. And it's like, sometimes it does make sense to lean into the strengths that you already have before you can figure out like what additionally you need to learn or gain in order to make the leap to where you'd want to be, rather than maybe where you just sit.
And I always say that as long as we know your archetype, we can figure out how to make any position that you land in work for you, right? But there is a certain you know, element of needing to craft your career narrative throughout your time in cybersecurity, where that having a clear idea of like who you want to be known as. Do you want to be known as that advisor? Do you want to be known as that builder? That's really important to nail down, so that way we can figure out, okay, regardless of whatever position you're in right now, there are elements of that position I'm sure we can help you you know, take away from it examples that support that archetype, and then make it easier for you to bow into different roles that continue to build up that specialization, that expertise, and make you stand out as being that go-to person for that kind of work.
And that's a brilliant way to go about it. I'm a backwards planner. Like, I'm someone who identifies where I want to be, and I see the most intelligent ways to get there. Then I'm like, start today, be here a year from now. So that's personally how I approach everything in life. What about you, Erica?
I think this is brilliant. I was going to say the same thing. This is super brilliant. And there is a lot of competition with the entry level jobs, but like somebody just said in the audience, employers want 3 years of experience for an entry level role. Again, there's problems that start at the employer with the job descriptions, but being able to pinpoint what somebody wants to do and how they want to do it, I think that is like the best thing I've heard in years, because people really don't know. Like, you can think that you want to be a hacker, but you might sit down and realize that that's not for you, that you end up going into GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, right? So I think that we need more of that. Definitely, I'm going to be promoting Changemakers and Hacker and Heels, because I think what you're doing is really, really amazing. And I would love to see this at the high school level, your Changemakers, so we can get them as they're starting to think about careers. I mean, junior high is good, but do you have any initiatives around trying to reach like the younger generations? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good question. Actually, when I created the company, and a lot of my focus has been more so on women who have already put in a couple years in a different career and they're trying to be
Mid-career
more of
pivot.
a career changer.
Mid-career.
Yeah, make that
Yeah.
career pivot.
That's
But that's
great.
not to say that there wouldn't be benefit by bringing this curriculum even further down or, further up in the pipeline to be able to have these conversations with people at the college and even in your K through 12 curriculum as well, right? So
Teach
yeah,
kids
definitely
tech.
an opportunity area there.
Erica's
Yes,
Teach Kids Tech wheels are turning. She's like, we're gonna suck
Teach Kids
Stacey
Tech,
in.
because that's exactly where I was going, Meryl. You knew it. You knew it. Once Teach Kids Tech gets launched fully, probably next year, but we should work together on that, because that's one of the initiatives that Teach Kids Tech is all about, is reaching kids in underserved and underprivileged communities, but also exposing them to tech and cyber and things that they may not have exposure to, because in those neighborhoods and communities, they don't have the same opportunities that I had when I was growing up, or other people in non-underrepresented communities. So I think what you're doing is great. I love that you're also working with mid-career pivoters. I would like to see women that are on like the networking, data center, and network side come over to cyber as well, because I hear every single day people that want to not be a network engineer anymore and they want to get into cyber or something IT security related, and they can't because they don't have the experience. So I love what you're doing, and I think this is just going to help us and branch out more. I was at the conference, Rocky Mountain Information Security Conference 2023, and I was talking to a bunch of customers, and that's one of the things they're struggling with, is like they see talent on one side of the business and they can't get them to shift over, or they identify something in a candidate, but they don't have all of the required things for the cyber role. And I don't understand why they can't just teach them, but I get why they don't need to. But I think this is going to be very prevalent, because all of the layoffs that are happening right now, that the bad guys are watching all of this unravel, all of these open to works, all of these massive layoffs happening. These are creating more security vulnerabilities in a company's network and just everything overall. That this is, I think, going to be one of the best years for hackers that are bad actors.
I mean, unfortunately, yes. Like when I saw that Twitch laid off their entire security department, I was like, you just offloaded all of security. I was like, if I was a hacker, I'd have been like, wow, we should just go after Twitch next. Like, they've got a giant user base we can falsify profiles with. This is wonderful for us.
There's a website that has real-time updates of all of the tech companies that are laying off and all of the companies that are laying off. And I'm like, dude, this is social engineering 101. Like, what are you? Come on.
Yeah. Hey, some of us are like, thank you for that. I think there's such an important aspect of what Changemaker does that we can all apply in pretty much everything we touch every day, but especially in our cyber context, because one of the things I was interviewed about, like when I first got in, was like, how did you talk your way in? How did you make it into cyber? A place where we don't hand out entry-level opportunities like candy. And if you don't have skills, like even rarer, how did you come in here with no technical background? And it was like, because I identified my superpowers. I identified the things that I had that I was able to bring to the industry to fill in a gap. I was like, I learn quickly, I retain well, I can break things down, I can make them digestible. And those are all things that you need, because all of your technicians on your team don't currently know how to do that and don't want to learn. So I was able to get into a GRC role on a very soft skill. And I think the more that women and young girls do identify the strengths that we bring, if you're an artist, if you're an analytical thinker, if you're, these archetypes, it's like Stacey said, there will be a place in cyber for you and we'll find a place where you fit. But like, I always tell people, lean into those strengths and take your entry level opportunity anywhere. My friend Mackenzie started in GRC, and that was because she again was non-technical. She got a good slow exposure to everything, and now she's thinking, I can handle learning Python, I can handle learning to bash, I can handle learning some more of these technical skills now that I understand where they play in and the importance of them. And like I said, like back in the day, I would Google, what do I need to learn to be a hacker? And it was like JavaScript, and I'm like, oh good God, that is so wrong. That's not even how that should work. So wonderful work the program is doing. Will you tell us really quickly how Changemakers either goes into Hackers and Heals, or about the Hackers and Heals curriculum and program itself?
Yeah, sure. So Changemakers is kind of like the first stop, right? So this is the place that you go where you either don't have any cybersecurity experience and you're trying to figure out if cybersecurity could be a place for you. I've had some people do it that are relatively new to cybersecurity and also want to be able to kind of like go through the exercise to just confirm their understanding and kind of give themselves ideas of where they could go in cybersecurity.
Beautiful.
And then from there, it leads into our insiders membership. So we have a membership community where our changemakers can, move into that at a really affordable price. And then also anybody in cybersecurity at any point in their career, again, we're focused on women, can join the community. And it's, basically a monthly cadence of a monthly connection call. We have a Q&A Tuesday. We have weekly study hours and other resources as well. And really it's really great because it's almost like super affordable group coaching in that, with our connection calls, we have a guest mentor each month. I offer to pay that guest mentor each month to really live up to our values and making sure that, most of the time our guest mentors are women. We want to make sure that they're compensated for the value and their experience and everything they bring by giving us their time to come and be a guest mentor. Usually they defer payment and put it towards our subsidized memberships for, Black, Indigenous, people of color. We offer subsidized membership for insiders there. But we spend that first hour of a monthly connection call, just doing a fire. What's cool about is that, I queue up all the questions and I queue up the questions in such a way where I'm so involved, obviously, in my own community that I know what people need. I know what people need. I know what they need to hear. I know what questions are on their mind. And so I make sure to queue up all of that in the questions that I ask. And then at the 45-minute mark, we give the members the opportunity to go ahead and ask questions as well. And so I always start them off with, expressing gratitude for, what was something that you did from, mentor shared tonight. And then you can go in. And then the last half hour is networking, right? So there's so many mentorship calls out there where you join a Zoom, you chat with people a little bit in the chat, but then it's over and everybody logs off, right? And so with us, we're no, we stay on, we talk about the conversation. Sometimes the guest mentor, if they're available, they stay. And we continue to connect. And it's amazing how in those conversations, that's when people are introducing each other to jobs that are opening. They have a contact, you've got one person saying hey, I'm struggling with this, and the other person saying, oh, I have perfect resources that help me understand this concept or whatever. And it's just really beautiful. And I mean, for that, it's all for $25 a month. So because again, I'm it's really important to me to build a very sustainable business, and also at the same time just provide those opportunities at an accessible price point as well. So we've got that. And then lastly, moving into one-on-one coaching, where I do one-on-one coaching. I call it career IR, career incident response. We're essentially given the experiences I've had over the years. I know that there are people out there who have had similar experiences, whether that's, a layoff, a termination, dealing with a toxic, misogynistic boss, whatnot. So if you're experiencing something out there, if you're wondering, if this is just me, it's not. What you're experiencing, unfortunately, is more prevalent than you think, but it is something that you can overcome. And so I spend a one-on-one time with women, helping them overcome those situations, build resilience, and keep rising up in the ranks, right? So yeah, those are all the programs under Hacker and Heels currently.
I have a question about that. How do you deal with, and I don't know if you've ever dealt with it, but how do you approach or deal with toxic women in the industry? So women that, because they had to do all of these things to get where they are, and I'm not dismissing that they had to work hard, but they are basically harder on females because they're not going to make it easy for them.
Welcome to the spicy segment of the episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Erica.
Yes, because this is, I want your perspective on this because this comes up all the time. I've met toxic women in the industry. Mm-hmm. I hear it every day.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? It's really upsetting because we, grow up thinking and also getting a lot of media pushed at us around the whole women, we stick together, we support one another, all that
No, we
kind of
don't.
stuff. But then in the workplace, that's totally not the case. And so it almost
No.
feels like, a case of gaslighting where it's like,
Yeah.
what the heck? Like, this woman knows like what it takes, how hard it is, and why are they now in turn making it harder for me to exist
Exactly.
and survive?
We've said
and
it
thrive
before.
in this,
We say
right?
it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, have you
Yep.
ever experienced that yourself personally, or have?
I have had way more women managers than men, and way more of those women have been worse than the men
No.
at times. I mean,
No.
I had my very first manager within my first week, like, brought me to tears.
No.
Was just screamed at me, threatened me, and it was just a really that was the beginning of cybersecurity for me. And honestly, in some unfortunate way, it has set the tone of this experience. But the most important thing to take away from that is that I survived. Right, I survived, overcame it. I've been continuing to progress and into higher roles and whatnot. And I've learned a lot from those experiences along the way. How you deal with women, I mean, you deal with them the same way that you deal with the men, is that you have to recognize that, like, especially if that's someone that you report to, you're not going to get anywhere with them. You can't try to change them. You can't try to win them over onto your side. All you can do is protect yourself. And so what does protecting yourself look like? It looks like documenting. It looks like making a strategy. Making a strategy, an exit strategy, building your personal brand, practicing, self-care, because it is really tough to continue to try to operate when you're reporting to someone like that. But ultimately it's, you're going to have to go. And I hate saying that, especially as someone who wants to have, accountability against people with these types of, toxic leadership styles. I want them to be held accountable. But unfortunately, until we have some more significant changes in regards to how society approaches capitalism and leadership and whatnot, and especially in cybersecurity, it's not worth it to fight it. And it doesn't mean anything less about you and your character and your ability. It just has everything to say about them. And so it's easier said than done to say, don't worry about it, but just know that, like, they're not going to end your career.
Right.
Like, you can overcome it, and I can help you with those strategies.
By the way, leaving a toxic situation and setting a boundary and actually adhering to it, actually enforcing it, does not make you a quitter, does not make you someone who has no loyalty, does not mean you do not care about the job, the mission, or the people. It means you're putting yourself first, and that's okay, because you can only pour out of an empty cup for so long. Eventually, you are going to have to put yourself first and think a little selfishly. So I just want to say, if you are trying to leave a toxic situation, if you set a boundary with anyone in your life, cyber or not, and you are met with anger at that boundary, you have just found the place where that person's respect for you ends. They no longer respect what's good for you. They only care about what's good for them.
Well,
go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, no, I was just going to note that I posted an article that the U.S. Surgeon General has recognized that toxic workplaces is bad on mental health, and what they're trying to do to change it. So continue with your thought, but I'll link that in the post show notes. But it's a real problem. Go ahead with your thought.
And something I tell mentees, because I actually had a mentee who, and this is not Erica, believe it or not, although apparently we know a lot of women who've had toxic bosses. She would be crying, calling me, crying, and being like, I don't know what to do. I've hit a wall. I can't please this person no matter what I do. I'm killing it. I'm giving results. I'm leaping in where I don't even have to and shouldn't be. And I'm still getting yelled at. He physically yells at me. He puts me down. He makes me feel like crap. And I was like, I said the same thing, but in different words. I was like, it's so hard to do, especially for us as women, but you need to separate the personal responsibility that you feel for the feedback you're getting from, like, your self-worth. Like, the performance feedback you're getting is A, not genuine, and B, even if it was, does not affect your worth as a person. So it's so hard just to be like, oh, separate yourself from it and try not to care and continue to do a good job anyway. That's much easier said than done, and took me a long time to learn in the military, where they don't care about your feelings. We're here to do a job. But I had to learn very quickly, they're not telling me I'm a bad person. They're just saying the job you did was bad, or I'm having a bad day and I'm taking it out on you, which is not permissible. But it's one of the things I have to help people learn, is truly how to separate their personal self-worth from their professional performance, especially women sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And a lot of women are afraid to speak up. And what's happening, talking to a lot of clients and people in the industry yesterday at RMISC, the conference I'm attending, people are leaving the industry because of this, because of this toxicity. And there's a lot of layoffs and stuff going on, but there's still a ton of open jobs. But I heard 5 women tell me yesterday that they're leaving the industry because they're sick of the toxic culture. And cyber is not bad. That's what kills me. Like, there's so much toxicity. It's not a bad place to be. But we talk about this a lot on the episodes, and we might scare people, but we also will tell you it's still a very welcoming place. My best friends are women that I've met in this industry. Meryl, April, who keeps commenting, Amber, just, by the way, hello, April. I know you said hi. It irks me that we're losing more women and minorities in the field because of this, because they feel
we're all talking
about
some unfortunate personal experiences, but I am lucky enough to say that I've never had a toxic boss in this industry, and I've only been met with like really positive, supportive, really powerful people who aren't like, oh, I don't have time to talk to you. Are you kidding me? I work at the NSA or whatever. They're like, yeah, I'll totally sit down and talk to you about like whatever you want. So cyber is welcoming. It's just, you're going to find your jerks in every industry. I feel like every industry's got its jerks. I did want to touch on something that we're going to transition a little bit, because although we could talk about toxic bosses forever, maybe we will in the future. Maybe we'll have Stacey back to talk about it, because you just posted that post about burnout, but I feel like that was professional burnout, like just burnout with your work. That's not even talking about the mental and emotional burnout, working with crappy people, which is way more prevalent than honestly work burnout. But I did want to talk about, because we don't have that much time left in the episode. So I love how, again, I referenced this in the description, when we sat down and I was like, I don't know what to do with cyber queens. I don't know what we should do about it. Everyone's saying make it a charity. And if you make it a charity, we can tap into this and tap into that and give you all this money and da-da-da. And Stacey actually was the one who got my brain thinking, maybe we don't do that. Like, maybe you do make it a business, and it's okay to have a for-profit business as a woman. It's okay not to just give away everything that you have for free. Giving away value for free is great, and it's how I give back, and it makes me feel good, but it doesn't have to be that way. So I love that you make your program affordable and accessible. You subsidize it. It's an intelligent monthly cost, etc. But it's not free. It is a paid service. So I would love for you to talk a bit more about that.
Yeah. So I was pulling some statistics this morning and around like the nonprofit sector, right? And I'm very grateful for the nonprofit sector, because that's really where I first got work experience as a work study student for an organization that did nonprofit trainings for other nonprofits in an area I lived in. And in the nonprofit sector, the stat was something like 70, almost like 3/4 of all nonprofit professionals are women. But then when you get to nonprofit leadership, that plummets. It's like 40 something percent. And then it was like, if the organization is bringing in 25 million or more, it's like 20% of nonprofit CEOs are women. And I was just like, look, like, it's the same problems in a different formula, right? In that, and especially so because in the nonprofit sector, one of the requirements is that you have to form a board. The board gets to decide on whether or not, who compensation, who is most suited to be a CEO, all that kind of stuff. So essentially it puts women who want to start something good in a position to where their power gets diluted, right? To where now you're not, exercising your strategy, your power, your strengths, your vision and whatnot. You have to dilute that across, multiple people who, in some ways it's good because you have a checks and balances system, especially when you're dealing with money that is being donated for the social good, all that kind of stuff. But then you also can't profit off of it either. Now, that's not to say that you can't make good money in a nonprofit. It's just that if you're doing really well at what you do, then you and, your other stakeholders don't get to financially benefit. I think that, as a society, that's where we've kind of missed the mark in incentivizing people to build businesses for public good, right? Because when people decide, am I going to give my money away to charity, or am I going to give it to this enterprise that I know can give me a 12% return? Yes, I will probably donate some for the tax write-off, but mostly I'm going to start putting my money around, into the businesses that can get me a return on my investment. And so by building out this company as a for-profit entity, but also looking at making it a B corporation. So, a B corporation has a lot of requirements around making sure that you are achieving that social impact, that you are operating in the best interest of all stakeholders, not your shareholders, all stakeholders. So that's your customers, that's your employees, and that's your investors as well. Then we're starting to move on a path to where we're showing people that you can do good and make money, right? Like, we need more examples of women and people in general building companies, making massive money off of changing people's lives and making their lives better, right? And so that's what Hacker and Heels is doing.
The episode's
so
done. We're just gonna cut it right there. No, I'm kidding. That was fabulous.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, that was the line you said that really got me. You were like, don't we need, like, you were like, giving away value for free is great. And like, I love that your heart's in the right place, but don't we need more examples of strong women who are able to build successful businesses and have that be a beacon for people as well? Like friends of ours with their own businesses, like Danny Wolf and Vika Germanova and like all these people, and like Erica now. It's like, why can't you be someone who does build a successful business? And yes, you're going to profit, but also you're providing a very, very valuable service to a lot of people. So I love that. It was one of those moments that changed my brain chemistry forever. So I just want to personally thank you for that and say that it inspired me heavily. So
it's because women are still not equal to men in any field. That is why there's not more females that have profitable, successful businesses, because it still is very much a man's world. And that's fine. That's how things started, and years have evolved and whatever. I'm not knocking it, but we give up easier than a man because we get discouraged, and it's in our nature to, if we get rejected, we just, figure out how to, move on from that. A lot of women don't move past the rejection. And I'm not saying that women can't handle rejection. What I'm saying is the discouragement and the rejection, and seeing somebody that is a man doing the same thing, and he's, rising all the way up and you're still right here. It's super discouraging. I saw it in sales for 12 years in the industry. I started here. This guy started here. He's a VP of sales or a CRO. Still to this day, I'm an enterprise account executive, individual contributor. And with all of the layoffs and stuff and everything happening, I was like, you know what? I am good, just as good. Unfortunately, these companies don't want to see that because they have these people in these roles that don't want to allow us to move past it. I'm going to start my own firm. My investor came to me because he sees that building an all-female company is not just beneficial for, grants and small business funding, but look, it's the opportunity to give women and minorities and the LGBTQIA community the same advantages that they couldn't get because they can't get past these barriers. So it's in our nature to kind of just say, oh, okay, well, I'll just try something else, or, just stay status quo. And that needs to change. So what you're doing is great. What I plan to do hopefully is great as well. And Cyber Queens, when Meryl came to me and was asking me about nonprofit versus for-profit, I saw the benefits to both, but then listening to you and kind of just, seeing how things are going and how the industry is changing, I'm not going to make this a nonprofit. We will be we will monetize the podcast eventually. That will happen. And I have my nonprofit and my business, and it's all going to intertwine together, because if we don't start doing it, nobody's going to do it for us. And that's what women need to keep reminding themselves. Nobody's going to, nobody likes to accept handouts, but maybe something that helps you get to your next step. It's not a handout. It's just, somebody helping you get to your next step. We just need more women to stand up, and I'm just personally tired of it. And I will go 100% bankrupt trying to start this business. I don't care if I have a salary for 2 years or not. I will get my business up and running. I mean, I do care. I have bills and stuff, but I will get this up and running. I mean, I do have bills. Like, I can't just not pay my bills, but I'll do whatever it takes. If I have to start bartending again, just to take extra money and put it into my business, because I don't want to use investment money and end up like all of the shenanigans that's happening in our industry, I'll do that. I don't care. I will pay my partners before I pay myself. But we need more women to think like that.
We do.
Yep.
So,
especially like with nonprofits, usually money is tied to certain expectations, right? And, you know, in the cybersecurity industry, with all the things that we're seeing, sometimes it's the very organizations that are behind a lot of the funding of these other nonprofit organizations that are doing
VCs.
harm. And so what happens when you are reliant on these organizations that in turn are the ones doing the harm to the people who you are trying to serve? Like, what kind of backwards you have to go through to try to, you know, make that okay with yourself from a, you know, from an ethical standpoint? It's really difficult. So instead, how about we just build businesses with anti-racist, equitable foundations from the ground up, and make it so that they are sustainable in such a way to where we don't need their money. We're happy to take some investments, but it's going to be on our terms, you know?
Yeah, then we don't have to take their agenda because we take their money. And it's like, well, I sleep good at night about it because I'm using something you're giving me to oppose you. But it's like, again, that's backwards thinking. We're not actually affecting any change. We are just making ourselves feel better about the problem, which is not actually moving the needle anywhere. And if there's anything we believe in, it's moving the freaking needle. So, all right, we are coming up on time. This has been a wonderful episode. I personally, like I said, I learned so much from Stacey on the daily. She continues to inspire and teach me new things constantly about business and about insider threat risk and about being who she is in the industry. It's wonderful to see. She truly is a queen maker. Let me ask Stacey, as one of our final things before we do final takeaways, if someone was interested in getting involved with Changemakers or Hackers in Heels, where can they go? What can they do? How do they apply?
Yeah, hackerinheels.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn as well. And I definitely recommend going and taking the career archetype quiz. There is a little bit of a bonus benefit at the end in regards to insiders. So go ahead, hackerinheels.com/quiz, and let me know what career archetype you get. And then I hope to see you in our community.
Yeah, and you have another Changemakers cohort kicking off soon, yes? Or has it already?
So Changemakers is now evergreen. So
okay.
Basically, anytime you're ready and excited to jump into exploring a cybersecurity career, you can get started. You know, we launched it as evergreen on June 1st. And so basically at this point, you know, I still pace it out over 6 weeks. You still get all the video lessons, tons of exercises, tons of resources. We have a Facebook group where, you know, people will join at any point when they, you know, get signed up and whatnot. So you're still going to get the community aspect of it. But I wanted to make it so that it wasn't just a one time a year thing where people had to wait. A lot of people can't wait at this point, right? Like they need to figure out something, do their next thing. They're really hungry, thirsty, want to, you know, explore this opportunity. And so we've made it so that you can right now when you're ready.
Love that. Thank you. And with that, if you don't take advantage of resources like this, then no amount of DMs that you ask us, how do I get into cyber, can help you. Stacey's literally built it. She's literally built the vehicle and it's functioning and it's beautiful. I wish I had known about it back in the day. Maybe things would have gone differently, but this has been so much fun. Stacey, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today and for making it work. With that, we will move into final takeaways from the episode. Anything that we've covered today or any parting shots you want to leave the audience with, whether they are not yet in cyber, new to cyber, or have been here for a minute. Erica, we'll start with you.
My final takeaway is, first of all, I'm signing my oldest daughter up for this right away because she's in school for a cyber degree. And I want Meryl to mentor her, but I don't know if Meryl has time. But anyways, I'm going to sign her up. So thank you for sharing all this information. My final takeaway is I need the ladies and the minorities and the LGBTQIA plus community to keep trying. If this is what you want to do, utilize Hacker in Heels, figure out what you want to do. And again, as we always say, if you don't know what to do or how to do it, find somebody that's in the industry. Even if you're not sure you want to be like a hacker or incident response or whatever the case is, find somebody that does that and reach out to them and talk to them. And, you know, maybe it could start from there. Always reach out to your cyber queens. We'd love to help you, but I just we need you guys to keep coming into the industry. It's going to be, you know, with AI booming and all the security issues around that, there's going to be so many jobs that aren't even probably created yet. So my final takeaway is just keep trying and reach out if you need anything or have questions.
We're going to save Beth for last. I'm going to save Stacey for last. I want her to wrap up the episode. But my final takeaway is going to be that it's okay to lean into your expertise and lean into your success. I was just at a dinner last night where I was like, you know, I launched a podcast, and I mean, it was a successful launch. Like, we had a successful launch. Like, what, like, initially, like, all this traction, like, not to brag. And someone's like, why aren't you bragging about that? That's like amazing. And I'm like, why am I so not braggy about the things that I do that actually perform well? So it's good to have humility, but it's good to lean into your expertise, brag on yourself, know when your time and expertise are worth money. And it's okay to ask and charge for those things and to know your self-worth. That's what Stacey taught me. So Stacey, your turn.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a bit of what Erica said, and just that please do not quit, because quitting at this point is going to adversely affect our security of our society for generations to come. That's not to say that you don't deserve a break. You absolutely, if you need a break, take a break. You are deserving of a break. You do need rest. You can absolutely do that without, compromising your career in such a way where that you like could never come back. Absolutely not. Like, take a breather if you need it. But ultimately, we need you here. We need more women getting into, higher positions of power, becoming CISOs, and helping us change the dynamics of our cybersecurity cultures. And if you're not here, we're not going to be able to do that, right? So please stay. Please know that you have fantastic resources out there in Cyber Queens and Hacker and Heels to support you. Please reach out to us. You're not alone. Whatever you're experiencing has been experienced by probably all of us in some way at some point, sometime. And you can overcome it, even though in the moment it might seem like a career ender type moment. You can overcome it. You will overcome it. You will be better for it. And you're going to do fantastic, because at the end of the day, women founders of cybersecurity. History likes to make us think otherwise, but the reality is we were the original code breakers. We were the original people doing this work until there was a realization that there was money to be had in it. And then men started to take over all the roles and positions and tried to make us think that we aren't capable. But the reality is, and studies show, that women in many ways are even better at cybersecurity and more suited for cybersecurity than the men are, because of how we have to operate in our society, because we have to be vigilant, because we have to weigh risk and whatnot. So you are not only capable of being here, you are meant to be here.
I think this is Erica's favorite moment on this podcast. I could see her like,
Well, no, because we always say, find a woman who's been lied to or cheated on. She's the best darn detective out there. And literally, not because they're calling us crazy, but we will find everything. So I think people need to utilize that skill in cyber.
Yeah, it's true. Diversity of thought, diversity of background, diversity of approach. This is what will save us. And women are some of the best at it. It is unchallenged. So thank you again for joining us for another wonderful episode of the Cyber Queens. We appreciate having you here. We appreciate all of the wonderful comments we got today that I'm going to go in and personally respond to on my flight I'm about to take. Thank you so much for supporting us and for attending and for your feedback. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. It's free and the number one way you can support us. If you didn't, come at me in the comments, because I'll take the engagement. And with that, we will see you all next week. We, the Queens, love you, and the Queen Maker loves you. And with that, happy Friday. Bye.
Bye.